Welcome to episode... And Neil's wife's just suddenly decided to start phoning him as we record an intro the podcast. We are pros, quite frankly. Well, either way, welcome to the Greenhorn podcast. As you know, that's the standard amateur affair that we have when we're recording our podcasts. It just keeps it real, doesn't it, Neil?
It does. And as you've probably seen, we're face to face, which is not often the case. I'm normally based in sunny Dunfermline, but I'm down in London, and hence why my wife probably wants to FaceTime and say night to the children.
This is actually our first ever in-person podcast. We've done everything remotely. We've done it via a Riverside sort of thing, which is, you know, for people who don't care about podcasting. This is it's like our normal use of thing. It's like a Zoom call, basically, where we sit down.
Yeah.
But now we're actually in person, which
in real life.
Yeah, which I think it's going to be quite good. I'd much prefer having conversations like this, and I'm hoping we can do like a few while you're down here, so we can crank out a few different episodes, because I think it just gives a different vibe. We're also recording it slightly differently, so we're actually in my office where I work, and I'm using an iPhone to record it, and I'm using an audio recorder here to record it with some very fancy Shure SM7B microphones.
Thank you, Ali Abdal.
Yes, thanks for donating your equipment. This is probably about I'd say £1,200 podcasting setup. Yeah, if you include the iPhone, it's maybe $2,500. Look at that, we're going up in the world, Neil. Incredible. Can't believe it.
Anyway, how's your week been? This is Thursday.
Is it Thursday?
No, it's Wednesday.
I think it's Wednesday, yeah. How's my week been? Well, I got back from Dubai. We recorded that episode in Dubai, which we'll certainly have up on the pod. Which was, Dubai was a good trip. It was really actually quite tough because it was just full on. You know, everyone at work's been like, "Boo, Gordon, you went to Dubai and you had a nice little trip and whatever else." And it was a good trip, and I did enjoy it. And it was great meeting all these people that clearly have subscribed to Ali for a long time, just like I did. You know, I'm a fan of Ali's work, and I was and still am. But it's just relentless. You know, from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep, I'm pretty much filming the whole time, or at least thinking about filming, or whatever variation of that.
What was the highlight? Interest, meeting somebody or seeing a celebrity?
Well, it's kind of a weird highlight. I don't know if I mentioned this in the podcast, did I? The last one when I was in Dubai? Maybe I didn't. I'll repeat it. Well, the first day we arrived, we were in the lift and we're going down. We were with this other couple, and it stops on a floor. The doors open, and Casey Neistat's. He's right in front of us. We're like, "Casey!" And no, he didn't want to get in with four people that just thought he was a bit weird.
Wow.
So he didn't end up getting in, and I was kind of really disappointed because I was like, he's
fanboy moment.
He's basically the reason why I started making videos. Basically, he was my inspiration to start the whole 2016 daily vlog thing. But sadly, he didn't want to get in the lift with me.
You might be a bit sick and tired of hearing people, because he's got a massive following. I can imagine, I don't know, X million people. He's probably inspired 5% of them, 2% of them. And he's aware of that, so does he need to hear it again?
I know. There's kind of part of me, I understand, that you don't really want to have to talk to everyone. And, it's this... But then I'm also like, well, boo-hoo.
Yeah, you put yourself out there, so
what did you expect? What did you expect? And people, not everyone's a weirdo. Like, there's always extremes. Like, there's super enthusiastic people, and then super people are just bloody weird, and you don't want to talk to them. But then there's someone like I'd hope I'd be a bit in the middle.
Yeah.
Where you literally changed my life, and I just like to say thanks very much, but you didn't want to get in the lift with me, so that was that.
His loss.
Yeah, yes. Maybe you'll listen to this podcast and find out and come and apologise.
We'll tag him in the.
Exactly. And then this start of this week's been pretty hectic. Mondays, like I said before, is usually meeting days, so we're covering a few things from a YouTube and courses perspective. Tuesday was kind of similar to that, just prepping lots of things. Filming, organising things, like just kind of organising all the crap that I took with me from Dubai to then sort it out in the studio, and then come back to the studio, and then I have to organise the studio again because, various people have been using things or doing stuff. And then today and tomorrow we're filming two more sets of the Creatorpreneur course that we're filming. I doubt we're going to finish all of the 50 lessons that we're supposed to be doing. We should probably get to about 30 or 40, maybe 40, I reckon. And that should be it for that. And they're pretty hardcore because it's like I've been up since 4:45. It's now something like 8 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock at night or whatever it is. So it's been busy, and it's just it's good. And I kind of miss Olivia and I miss Laura because I've been working so much, like 10 days in straight, and that's not so easy, I suppose. But anyway,
I think you need some time off.
I think I do. Well, we've got Amalfi Coast next week.
Oh, okay.
Which is booked, so that'll be nice. That's just me and Laura. First time away without baby.
Nice.
And that'll be our first wedding anniversary celebration because we've been in lockdown the past 2.
Wow.
So that'd be quite nice. Anyway, how's your?
My week's different as you can see. I'm in London. Start of the week, average. Go and sort me out. Average start to the week, and then I flew down this morning with work. Long story short, the startup I work for was acquired. Now we're meeting the kind of people that bought us, and there's a big social event tomorrow. So since I'm down for that as well as other meetings. So yeah, it kind of breaks the week up a bit. Doesn't really feel like work, but it is work. Out socializing, meeting new people, feels good.
It's just fresh, right? So I imagine the reason I really enjoyed personal training when I did that for so long, partly also the online thing that I've done, the videography stuff that I've done. I love variety. You know, when you're working, like I do like the element of monotony and the element of kind of regularity of what you're doing and how you're doing it. You know, where you sit, you know, where you stand, like all those kind of things. But at the same time, I quite like having someone go, "Hey, can you do this thing, Gordon?" And you're like, "Yeah, that sounds fun."
Yeah, and they've got a different background. They've got different views on things, and yeah, it's definitely good fun meeting new people.
And you get out as well, like, especially for you. You got three kids at home. That
and I was sitting in the pub on my own, waiting for Gordon to come. It was luxury.
Like I don't know if anyone remembers back to some of the podcasts we've gone through where Neil, when we were in Dubai, Neil decided that just staying quietly in the hotel room, not talking, was as much a holiday as it was outside jet skiing around the Burj Al Arab at sunset.
Yeah.
So I imagine you sat in a Brewdog having a pint was just absolute bliss.
It was. It was good.
Today's episode, we're actually going to go into who inspires us and why. And these are kind of going, I suppose you could chuck around things like people inspiring people. I'm sure there's plenty of people in the world with books that we've read, people that have started charities, helped loads of people, pushed themselves from a physical capacity, and also those that have built companies and been huge entrepreneurs and whatnot. But my take on it was actually just to try and actually pick people who are within my periphery, who are in my little world, if you want to call that, and sort of discuss why I think they inspire me and make me want to work harder. And just are people that I think are actually attached to me, rather than people that you can see from a distance that are kind of like these godlike characters. Because if you meet them, Casey Neistat in Point, when he was on doing his speech at this summit, he was talking about how he didn't like people. His focus was his family, and to a certain extent I understand that, but I can also imagine, like we talked about in the last podcast, where not the last one, the one previous to that success comes at a cost.
Yeah.
And I imagine as well, thinking of these people as inspirations. Sure, it's their acts, but are they inspiring as an individual?
Yeah.
Or are they actually just an asshole because they had to be that type of asshole? They had to be very self-involved, very narcissistic to be able to produce, 500 bloody videos.
Yeah.
You have to cancel everything, not talk to anyone, and just basically make every day a focus on yourself, which, it's fair enough. You can do what you like, but yeah, maybe I don't think that's very inspiring. I wouldn't want to be that type of person.
No, I think you're right. And I guess when I thought about this topic, when I thought about this topic, it got you thinking about, who does actually inspire me. So my first default thought was, who's the kind of famous people I've heard on podcasts, who are the books I've read. When you dig deeper, there's people around you that inspire you. And I've got a few different ones. I've got ones that are closer to me. I've got a book that I'm going to mention that inspires me daily. And yeah, we'll dive into it.
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Or do you want to go first, Neil?
I'll go first.
Oh, you look excited. There you go. Do you know which one you want to do?
Yeah. I might use my phone as a bit of a tool. So there's a book called The Daily Stoic. I don't know if many of our listeners will know about Stoicism and Stoic. I'll probably put my hand up and say I probably need to learn more. But what I understand it to be is these Roman emperors and people, philosophers and stuff like that, dating back hundreds and hundreds of years, thousands of years maybe, that wrote a lot of things, documented a lot of things, and just kind of lived an interesting life. And those readings and those writings have now matured into books and into various papers and stuff like that. And a chap called Ryan Holiday has created this book called The Daily Stoic, and it basically takes some quotes from these really kind of influential people back in the day, and distilled them down to what the actual writing of their how they wrote it, which some of the English can be a bit interesting to read, and then he translates it into like modern day, like what does it actually mean? What was Epictetus trying to get at? And the design is each page is one day of the year. You read it every day, and it's just something to think about, something to look back on or ponder on if you're on the train, and it can really kind of open your eyes to how life wasn't that much different to 1,000 years ago.
Why does that inspire you?
So I was going to try and find one, and I was looking for one because I've got it on my phone, I've got it paperback, and I've got it on my Kindle. I've got it everywhere because I'm kind of dedicated to reading every day, and I've read it once every day. But like, this is a reading from today's one, March 23rd, and this was from Epictetus, and it is, what is it then to be properly educated? Is it learning to apply our natural preconceptions to the right things according to nature and beyond, that to separate the things that lie within our power from those that don't? And just reading that doesn't really kind of resonate too much, but then when you read Ryan Holiday's synopsis on it, it's just something to ponder, something to...
What's Ryan Holiday's synopsis?
You want me to read it out?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Cool. So, a degree on a wall means you're educated as much as shoes on your feet means you're walking. It's a start, but hardly sufficient. Otherwise, how could so many educated people make unreasonable decisions or miss so many obvious things? Partly it's because they forget that they ought to focus only on that which lies within their power to control. A surviving fragment from the philosopher Hercules expresses that reality. Many who have learned from the Hesiod and countless names of gods and monsters never understand that night and day are one. Just as you walk plenty wealth without shoes, you don't need to step into a classroom to understand the basics. Fundamental reality of nature and of our proper role in it begin with awareness and reflection, not just once, but every single second of every single day.
So it's reflective to a certain degree.
Yeah.
So would you say it's inspiring?
Some of them are.
So what does it do for you then? If it's inspiring, then it clearly makes you like want to action something. Can you think of any position where you've taken that and gone, I need to be a better dad, or I need to be a better husband, or I need to be a better... Yeah,
so there's definitely readings in there about your relationship with people, the things you worry about, the things that concern you, your kind of... Yeah, your worries as a general thing that you shouldn't get caught up in the little minutiae things of life, being stuck on the tram for hours and hours, or on an airplane that you can't get off. So those things, inspire is an interesting word. I feel like it does inspire me, but I don't know how to.
Does it make you work harder?
I think it makes my relationships better.
Okay, I suppose that's an inspiration.
Yeah,
it makes you act upon something, I suppose.
And there's 365 days of different stuff, which could be, so some are inspiring, some are
ponderous, maybe
ponderous. Yeah,
have to think about things. Yeah, books and quotes. Well, quotes more so. I suppose they can get a bad rap to a certain degree from the whole Instagram.
Yeah, you know, motivational.
The
hustle.
The Belfies for anyone. Do you know what a Belfie is, Neil?
No.
Oh, you don't know what a Belfie?
I feel like I do. I should, but
it's a butt selfie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's the Belfie with, on a Maldivian island, looking out onto the ocean, the open ocean, and then adding a stoic quote to it. Yeah. I suppose that kind of thing, like sometimes it kind of does subscribe to me. Like sometimes I do subscribe to it, but sometimes it's kind of just a bit hot airy-ish. I quite like inspiration from more of like an action taking kind of thing, like someone showing me what they've done. And I think that's where, when I was considering the whole daily vlogging thing with the bodybuilding stuff, it was kind of like people are just talking on the internet, and they're all arguing about protein and whatnot, rather and you know, quoting studies and doing all that kind of thing, rather than actually just picking up a hammer and hitting the bloody nail. And that's what I want to do with the podcast, with the daily vlog thing. So I guess it can be, and as long as it results in some sort of action, I could probably call it inspiring to a certain degree. Yeah.
But interesting point you made in terms of quotes. So there's thousands and millions of quotes out there. Gary V, I think, quotes every day of his life. But bit of a dig. But I like Gary. Anyway,
I like Gary. Aye.
As if he's listening to this.
Big old Gary V. You listening to the podcast? Cheers, man.
But looking at quotes and writings from the Stoics, I think is just a bit different.
Okay. Why?
Because I feel like Gary, using him as an example...
But are the Stoics not just the Gary V's of the Roman Empire?
I don't know, like, I think Gary's quote limit is like, I don't know, 5 or 6 words.
Do you reckon there was 2 brothers sat doing a podcast back in Roman times going, oh, these dickheads who just got that, their Belfies and their Instagram memes?
Maybe. Anyway.
Okay, you want me to move on for you, Neil? Have I trashed your idea of Stoic being inspiration enough? Yeah, so my one actually was to start with, this kind of was brought up on a podcast I did ages ago. I can't remember exactly what we're talking about and why we got onto it. But one of my kind of pet peeves is slightly that a lot of people are put to like a higher power or seen as incredible because they become rich and they become famous, and there's like they've failed and succeeded, and there's this kind of like up and down of success, but eventually they made it, and this is kind of that kind of thing. It seems kind of like weirdly attractive to people. It's kind of put into newspapers. It's seen on like Instagram, but you know, like people who truly are inspiring are people who give up what their passions and pursuits, their needs and wants to be able to serve their family or their friends or people who are more disadvantaged to a certain degree. And I don't think we champion the sort of the working man. I don't know, am I allowed to say working man nowadays? You know, but our dad grew up in that kind of era where men went to work and women to a certain degree did stay at home, and it still does happen certainly if you have children to a certain point of it. So yeah, he worked for someone or a thing for 20 years and hated it.
Yeah.
You know, and although I don't necessarily want to emulate that as a career choice, like I feel bad that he did decide to pursue a career that he didn't want to do, and he didn't try and, you know, do a job that he wanted to love that maybe paid a bit less or that was a bit riskier. But at the same time, I'm like, you know, hat tip. Like you wanted to ensure that the family was provided for. You wanted to make sure that the bills were paid, that we could go to school, that we could have, you know, birthday parties that we wanted to do. And he went to work every day.
Yeah.
You know, and that's inspiring. Like that's to me, that's a man doing what he needs to do for his family. And that's, you know, that to me, that's inspiring.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I think looking at our family tree, I don't know that far back, but I think it's something that, yeah, shines through. But it's interesting. I think we've got a different not outlook, but a different perspective on inspiring. But it's quite interesting hearing your one.
What's the different perspective on inspiring?
No, not different perspective, but like, I don't know, I look at inspiring people. Like my next one is going to be a chap called the Iron Cowboy, or maybe I won't touch on that, but I don't know, someone that's excelled at something to do with health and fitness and just push their boundaries. And then you're talking about the other side of inspiration of like someone who's just got grit and is getting it done in the face of their family.
I guess so. I mean, the way I'm actually looking at it is more that we tend to look at people and put them on pedestals for what they're achieving. Granted, you know, the Iron Cowboy, I can't remember the chap's name who did like the 12 highest peaks Nimis Dai, I think his name is. I've probably totally butchered that, but it was incredible. You should watch the Netflix documentary; it's amazing. But what I'm trying to look at is, these people are inspiring, and you kind of want to achieve what they've done, and it's really interesting, and you can watch their sort of pursuits on Netflix and all that kind of thing. But I just feel like they're almost too far away. They're almost like inhuman. They're almost alien to us. And I appreciate that type of endeavor is inspiring, and I don't disagree that it's not inspiring. It absolutely is. It's just that I don't think enough of us kind of look at the people that are literally surrounding us, that are literally in our lives, who are our friends, who are our brothers, our sisters, our aunties, our uncles, our cousins. And I feel like these people should be on that same pedestal.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're definitely right.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of use Dad as an example of that he is inspiring, because he gave up his wants and desires and everything else that went along with that we have. Like, we have those wants and desires, and everyone probably listens to this has those types of desires that they want to go and, I don't know, paint for a living or sing for a living, or maybe they want to start a business in something. But he decided to forgo all that because he found a stable job that paid reasonably well, that had a good pension, that meant he could retire a bit earlier. But he had to do that for 20 years to make sure that we could go to school and we could go to parties and we could do what we wanted to do and we could go on holiday and all those kind of things,
Yeah.
So no, I'm not saying that those types of people aren't inspiring. They absolutely are. I just feel
two sides of it.
Yeah, because the Instagram allows us to be able to in the Instagram world of like inspiration and what that looks like, which is really just a status game. It's not really inspiration as such.
Yeah.
But I just feel like we could definitely, as everyone whoever listens to this, maybe I'm preaching, but it's just that I think we can look at the person sat next to us and be like, actually, do they inspire me? Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And if they do, why do they inspire me? Why don't we tell them that?
Yeah. Leads me nicely on to my next one.
Cool.
Which is my older brother.
That's me.
But like, I don't know, you're making me think on the spot here. The reason I put you as my next one was the things you've accomplished, and the kind of, I guess it comes down to some of the grit and stuff, but around your bodybuilding and your dedication to seeing something through, and like, you've got a goal and you work towards that goal and you achieve what you set out to achieve, is becoming first in Scotland. I think that's massively inspiring to me. But then also on the flip side is you went from a farmhouse in the middle of nowhere, episode whatever, we discussed that one, to living in Aberdeen at 18, 19 years old, to then moving down to London at 20, 21 maybe. And yeah, just that whole journey. And I don't think I wouldn't have come out of my, I don't know what you call it, nest or area of growing up if it wasn't for you. I'd probably still been in the country somewhere in Inch or somewhere round about the sticks in Aberdeenshire. And there was I think I'm only where I am just now in terms of the career I've got and the job I've got and the family I've got, because you taught me that it was possible to do that kind of thing. And it was kind of, achievable from somebody or from a family that grew up on the sticks in the middle of nowhere.
Wow. Makes me feel a bit emotional, Neil. I'm not going to lie.
So there's two sides of it. There's the kind of grit and achieving all that, and then there's the bodybuilding and fitness side of things, of just like getting shit done to meet your goal.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm actually I didn't do it. I don't do these things. I don't think to try and inspire you or whatnot.
But it comes back to what you said, is like look around at people around you for inspiration instead of the people that are on TV.
Yeah, and to me it seems so simple. I a big part of what I can do is work hard. And if I say I'm going to do something, like follow through on that.
Yeah.
I suppose there's a few things there's probably, times at which I haven't done that. I definitely have not done things that I definitely haven't necessarily followed through in things that I've said or wanted to do. But at the same time, some of the big shit, maybe, moving to London, doing the bodybuilding shows, applying for this kind of thing, like going through with it all. And I'm glad it's inspiring. I'd have liked to have pushed you more, to be honest.
You want me down in London?
Well, not even just London, to be honest. Just like I appreciate your life's different now, and you have 3 children, and you have to do that providing thing, right? We're talking about with Dad as an inspiration, and you have to do that. Like I have to slot into that type of mindset. Like the decisions that I make at work, the decisions that I make in my life, impact not just myself.
Yeah,
they impact Olivia, and they impact Laura, and I never want them to feel sad or upset or that kind of thing. But I feel like, I'd have loved to. I don't know how I would have done it, but I would have loved to have pushed you even harder, and gone, Neil, the world is your oyster when you were like 21, 22.
Yeah.
But I'm also glad that you saw that I was trying to do all these kind of things, and you were like, oh, I could probably do a little bit more and a little bit more.
Yeah.
Which is. But yeah, I'm kind of glad that's the case. But yeah, this is the big reason why I love doing these
I know.
I love doing these podcasts.
Revelations.
But they're not so much revelations. Like I hoped I kind of had a bit of an influence on you and wanted to push you in the cliche idea of being the best version of yourself kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes a lot, like we were just doing a podcast thing that we're supposed to be doing. I don't know if I'm gonna do it, but we'll do it. Where it was kind of a case of a lot of people feel anxiety about doing a podcast, and I'm like, why would you feel anxiety about doing it? Who gives a shit? And I don't give a shit if anyone listens to this. I'd like people to, but at the same time, I'm literally recording it for those types of moments.
Yeah,
they're amazing.
Yeah.
And I guess that kind of leads me into a little story about Neil. And I suppose my sort of second aspect of inspiration. And I think I told the story at my wedding during the speech. I don't know if you inspired me when you were younger, to be honest. Oh, the lights have just all gone off. Neil, you're going to have to stand up. Wow. So what's just happened is we're in a little space where we haven't moved. There we go. Lights are back on. Neil's in. Right. Anyway, if anyone's watching this on YouTube, you'll see what's just happened. Again, another amateur moment for our glorious podcast. But this was a story that I told at our my wedding. Our wedding? Do we say our? Can you say my wedding, Neil? Are you allowed to say that?
I don't know. It's like we had a baby. Did we have a baby, or did Laura? Or
yeah, Laura definitely had the baby. I was very much in an observing capacity.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure Neil really inspired me through his teenage years. I'm honest. He did inspire me during his sort of his 20s to a certain
early
degree.
adulthood.
Yes, but there was a big moment that I look upon that would have crushed. I feel like would have crushed a normal man. And the story goes, Neil's just got married. Neil's just had a child. Neil's just bought his first place with child and with wife. And the oil price tanks from $110 a barrel to about $25 a barrel. And in Aberdeen, there's a microeconomy effectively that runs off of oil, and people get sort of hired and fired off the back of an oil price. Yeah. And to go to $25 a barrel, basically you're not making any money. Like the oil industry is screwed. And Neil at the time was working for an IT firm that was kind of about project management and implementation stuff. And he got put on kind of like a warning list or something, a gardening list. The bench. Which essentially means you're going to lead to like redundancy. Yeah. Like you're going to lose your job. You can see it coming. Yeah, you're going to lose your job. It took a while though. It took like 7 or 8 months.
Yeah, so and like, I don't know, silver lining all that. I got the first 9 months or 8 months with Isla. Oh, that was incredible. Don't ruin my story. I'm going too much. Sorry. So, yes. So Neil was kind of put on this gardening thing, getting paid quite for a while, but inevitably there was going to be a point where you're going to lose your job. And this is Neil, fresh in dad life, new house, and he's about to lose his job. He knows it's going to come. And most, like, I can't imagine what that must feel like. I feel pressure alone having a kid and having a job, because I've got to maintain this job. Like I'm going through, I've still got a probationary period. Hopefully when this podcast is over, my probationary period is finished. So got my job. But yeah, and I feel that pressure, and I couldn't imagine what it would have been like knowing that you're going to lose your job eventually, and then having to try and find a job again in a market that's probably going to be flooded with people all across Scotland that do the same thing that you do. And how the hell am I going to get this job? Or how am I going to provide my family? How am I going to pay my mortgage? And
you know what? Neil didn't crumble. He didn't sort of curl up in a corner and start crying and, not actually like go out and do something. And yeah, he pulled his trousers up. He went to job interviews, traveled across the country doing it. Ended up finding a job working, I think for the same company but with a different job.
Yeah, it was all a bit weird, but yeah.
Yeah, so a different thing, but ultimately having to move to Edinburgh.
Yeah, the job was based in Edinburgh.
So Neil ended up getting a job in Edinburgh, but his family had to stay in Inch because he had his flat in Inch near Aberdeen with the wee one, with Isla. And he had to commute for, what was it, like a year nearly?
Yeah, just over a year. Monday to Friday, train down on the Monday morning, and then back on the Friday night. And I used to pay for accommodation down in Edinburgh as well.
Yeah, so he had to do that just to put food on the table.
Yeah.
And, how you handled that situation to not allow yourself to fall into like a deep cavern of depression and sadness because you lost your job and it's supposed to be the happy moment, but it wasn't. Like that's a hat tip. Like that's inspiring. That's a really that's a for any young man that ever goes through that. It's kind of like, you know what? Sometimes you got to pull your trousers up, and you got to go out there and find a bloody job.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no movement for sadness. There's no like self-pity.
I know.
There's none of that. You've got to get on with it, and not everyone will do that, but you did. And I'm like, that's my little brother. And one of the really fascinating things was I think Neil was going through like a pondering moment, sat on the train. He's probably reading his Daily Stoic. And he wrote a thing on LinkedIn, a little blog.
Yeah.
And that ended up getting published in The Scotsman, which is a national Scottish newspaper.
In print.
Yeah. And that, like, all that kind of stuff just epitomizes your sort of determination, your willingness to overcome any kind of hardships like that. And it's brilliant. Like, not everyone's like that. Not everyone's built like that. And not everyone's willing to act like that. And you did what you needed to do to provide for your family. And that's solid.
Yeah. No, thanks, I guess.
Hey, bother.
But I don't know why I've got a fixation of trying to find out or trying to look into why we're like this. Like, what made you move down to London? What made, I don't know.
Well, part of me wanting to move to like London, for example, was, with all due respect to mum and dad, I don't want that life.
Yeah.
I don't want to live isolated. I don't want to live in the middle of nowhere. I don't need quiet. I want access. I want to maximize the time and energy that I have.
Yeah.
Like, I can stop when I'm 60, 70. Maybe I won't. But I want to be able to privately educate my children. I want them to have the best foundations and opportunities to be able to go and do what we've done and travel the world and see the things and have a fulfilling career in life. And that's not to say that we don't have those things. But equally, when you have a sheltered lifestyle within the sort of a farming community of rural Aberdeenshire, it's a bit too sheltered for me. And I also didn't want to work. Like, mum worked in the NHS for 30 years. Dad worked for this other company for 20, 25 years or whatever it was. Like, I'd rather not have that. Yeah. And that's what drives me.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a weird, it's like a negative inspiration, is it? Is that what you call it? But I just don't, that's what maybe drives me. That I don't want to live that life. I'd rather go out and fucking kill it.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that drove me to moving down to Edinburgh was in Aberdeen, job market fell off the shelf, and I could have got a job at like a lower grade or not very well paid, but did something in IT, that kind of thing. But I was very career driven, and I wanted to either stay at the same level as I was at the time of being made redundant, or go up a level at least. And that was the one thing that drove me was coming down here, because I was determined not to take a step down.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that would have hurt. I think that would have hurt more than the travel.
Yeah.
Backwards and forwards from Edinburgh, because it's like, I've worked this hard to get to this pay grade and this level, and I'd rather not give that up. So I suppose you were just kind of clinging on to the whole status thing. Maybe you actually weren't trying to provide for your family and doing all the things that I'm talking about. Maybe you were like, yeah, but I don't want to be a cleaner.
But the problem was with these jobs is you've got 1,000 people applying for one job. So even the lower grade ones, they were few and far between.
I think we're pretty kick-ass at interviews, aren't we?
Touch wood.
Touch wood. That's a sofa.
Yeah.
What's your
third
last one?
My last one is, I kind of touched on it, but the Iron Cowboy, and this purely comes from a kind of health, fitness, and what you can achieve, or what he achieved.
I mean, what he did wasn't very healthy, though. Let's be honest.
No, and I'll go through in a bit what he did. So his first accomplishment was 52 Ironmans in 52 states in 52 days. So basically, he travelled in an RV and then he flew to a couple of states, all in that period.
Hold on a minute. Did you say 52 states?
Yeah.
There's only 50 states in America.
50 states then. So it's 50 states, 50 Ironmans, 50 days. And he did that, but he did that with taking his 4 children with him and his wife in an RV, which I think is just madness. And then the second achievement he just did, which he completed last year, and he documented every day on Instagram, is he did 100 Ironmans in 100 days, back to back. And for those who don't know, an Ironman is a marathon, 112-mile cycle, and a few miles of swimming.
A 2.5 mile swim or a 5 mile swim or something. It's mad.
And yeah, so unbelievable pushing the human body to that extent, and having his family around him while he did that. I think, yeah, it motivates, it inspires me. It means that I might be hungover tomorrow. I won't be, but the next day I might be hungover, but I'm still going to go for that run because I know he achieved that. And yeah, I think if he can do 100 Ironmans in 100 days, well, I can definitely do an Ironman.
That's a lot of confidence.
Yeah. But it's going to get done. So yeah, short and simple. And it's Iron Cowboy on Amazon Prime.
I think it goes, if you consider what you said about me and then you said about this Iron Cowboy chap, which I've seen the Netflix documentary, I think it's pretty insane. And I might actually note that some people out there suggested that he cheated, where, they said that because he went on a bike, it was in a gym or something, and he cycled it and then ran it on a treadmill.
Yeah.
That he was cheating.
So he's not allowed to call them Ironmans. Wow. Because Iron Man didn't commission... the Iron Man franchise, or whatever you call it, didn't commission him to do it.
Wow.
And he had to do it indoors sometimes because there's massive tornadoes going through some of the states.
Yeah, and he was broken.
Yeah.
As you can imagine. But you seem to choose, people that kind of push their bodies and their minds to the absolute max in terms of, with my bodybuilding stuff, and then this Iron Man type of person.
Yeah.
Like, why do you think that physicality, that mental fortitude inspires you to... Well, it just inspires you. Like, why do you think that's really cool?
It just shows the art of the possible from a human body point of view. And it comes back to if he can do 100, then I can do at least one. And yeah, it just shows the great determination. He's got 4 kids and a wife. His kids were pretty young when he did the 50 states. Took them around in an RV. That shows he's kind of, wedded to his family, and his family were supporting him. He didn't just, be selfishly go away for 50 days and do it himself. There's quite a lot around him. It's not just the kind of the act of him training and him doing it all. It's kind of his family aspect, his morals, his values.
So would you like to emulate all of those?
Yes.
Why?
Because I think it's somebody that I want to be, and I look up to.
So you want to be able to achieve these types of physical feats and have the mental capacity and physical capacity to do so?
Yes, alongside my family in supporting me.
Interesting. So where do you think that puts them? Do you like the fact that would you like the fact that you could tell someone you've done an Ironman?
So it's not a status thing when I get to the kind of Ironman. It's I've trained and I've pushed my body to that level of exertion.
So you've maximized your overall potential.
Yeah,
perhaps.
And then it's being that role model for the kids, so they can now see that. So I've got this Ironman guy that's in 100. That's a way off in my eyes, but if I can be that role model of doing one, then Isla, Ben, and Lewis can see that that's probably achievable for them.
Why an Ironman then? Why not just do it with small daily actions like going for a walk?
Because you've got to. So you've got to do that. I don't know. You caught me out there. It's not very healthy. Just walking.
Well, you could argue it is. Is it because it kind of separates you from other dads?
I don't know.
Because it's not normal, right? And if you're just a normal dad, you just sit and watch Netflix and you drink some beers and whatever else.
Yeah.
And I suppose
there's definitely a longevity thing in it as well. So the health aspect of.
Yeah, but come on, Neil. Like a marathon and an Ironman, they're not healthy pursuits.
They're not, but the journey to them is.
Again, no, I don't think so. Because if you look at like over a course of like 3 different groups, so you have sedentary individuals who don't do any activity, you have amateur runners or people who are recreational runners, and then you have like professional athletes, professional runners. You see higher injury instances in both ends. So sedentary people and professional runners. People who do like the odd 5K here or there, you see much less injury issues with these individuals. So what I'm kind of knocking at a little bit is just that, doing these types of things, great, and they're cool pursuits and they're cool little tasks and cool things to go after. But I'm curious about, why? Why not just do like a 5K every so often? Because that's healthy. That would still fill that bucket that you're looking for. But maybe it's because you don't want to be normal.
It could be, but then I don't know if you look at it. So you get into technicalities of like a VO2 max. If you do a 5K a day or 5K a couple of times a week, your VO2 max isn't going to be that superior.
Yeah, but there's a certain threshold. Like if you've got like an extremely high VO2 max, it doesn't mean you're necessarily going to survive cancer.
No, but I've probably got a marginal percent more than Joe Bloggs who smokes.
Sure, but that's...
or watches Netflix.
Sure, but my point being with the 3 different groups is that there's a certain point at which something isn't healthy.
Yes.
And usually it's in the middle.
Yeah.
So that's
balance. Yeah,
but more so it's also pretty mediocre. Whereas when you do an Ironman, you're not mediocre, are you? You're a bloody Ironman.
Correct.
So, yeah, maybe we can explore that in a different podcast. But it's kind of, again, I think you're right in the sense that this guy was mental. Like when we watched the Netflix series, it is crazy what he's done.
I mean, he falls asleep on his bike cycling 100 miles.
Yeah. But then in the same vein that you would say it's inspiring, some people would be like, this guy's fucking mental.
Yeah.
Like, what a nut job. Why doesn't he go to work?
Yeah.
Because he didn't really get paid for doing that either.
No. I mean, that's what I think about when I can't be arsed with my run or I can't be arsed cycling. Or.
All right. Fair. My last one for this was actually, again, kind of pointing at people that I don't necessarily know who they are. I've never spoken to them. I have walked past them many times. And it shocks me a lot that this is something that happens. You have homeless people in London, a lot of homeless people in London, and there is a soup kitchen that's outside a place called Charing Cross train station, or just up from it, and the queues are massive. But the people that run this soup kitchen turn up very regularly. I don't know if it's every day. It might be every day, but they do that out of the kindness of their own hearts.
Yeah.
They don't get paid for it. They probably actually donate quite a lot of money to be able to do it. They help prepare the food, they cook the food, they drive the van, they fix the van, all these kind of things for absolutely nothing other than just the good feeling of helping other people.
Yeah.
And
that's awesome.
To me that's really inspiring, and I've kind of thought about it quite a lot. And when you talk about inspiring aspects of things from a health perspective by running and doing activity, equally I want to be able to do that. But then at the same time, I feel like I should demonstrate the act of giving and not expecting anything back and being that type of example. I'm not entirely sure how I want to do it. I don't know how I can get involved from a time perspective. Like, do I have enough time to be able to do it? And can I give enough to it? And I don't necessarily want to just give money because I can't see the impact of it selfishly. I'd like to use my own 2 hands to be able to help. But I'd like to do it where it's something that, I don't know, the kids, or when I have 2 children, they come with me to do it. And they can see that that's an important part of society and what it's all about. And they inspire me because that's, like, I want to be able to do that. I don't know how to do it. Maybe I don't feel very confident doing it, or there's something stopping me. But I get truly inspired by people that give up so much of their time, so much of their finances and time, because I think there's something about using your two hands to be able to help people. And I honestly think these people are incredible, because they turn up probably every day to feed people who are homeless, who have nothing.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just kind of looping right back, is we've both made points of like wanting to be that role model for our kids. Yeah. Which, I hope other dads are like that, but I think that's quite a strong thing that we have. Is I want to run my Iron Man to show Isla it's possible, and Goran wants to work in a soup kitchen because giving is good, and that kind of thing. And I think that's quite a nice note to ponder. No, being inspiration's kind of it feels good, I suppose. Like inspiring our children to want to do these things by simply us doing them and acting on them. Yeah. You know, that's and I think that's where a lot of inspiration comes from, is in the action, really, isn't it? You know, talk is cheap. Yeah. There was this weird, I don't know where I saw it. It was recently though, about you should live your life as if you've got a camera crew following you. Or like they're making a documentary about your life. I don't know. I'd want that, Neil, because I make some jokes that are definitely cancelable. I'm not gonna lie. But like, it was the art of like thinking: is this worthwhile? Is this gonna benefit the documentary? Or I don't know how he worded it. He worded it really well. But basically, it was about don't just waste your life away. Don't just sit and scroll on Instagram and Facebook, because that'd make a shit documentary. Do something inspiring. Do something that puts yourself out there. That's what I found with the vlog thing that I did. You know, I found that I was going and doing things that were more exciting. And people often ask me, is it a bit shit you have to like walk around with your camera all the time? I'm like, yeah, kind of, to a certain degree. But it actually makes me get off my ass and go and do something. Yeah, and think about it and make it worthwhile. It's like your first dates with your wife or your girlfriend at the time, you end up going and trying new things that you probably never would have done before. Yeah. Because you're like, look, I'm an exciting human being. And now I'm like, fucking, I'm just going to have a nap. Yeah. That'd be great. Well, that's us approaching this sort of hour aspect of things. I've no idea if this iPhone is recorded, Neil. I really hope it has, but I'd be a bit upset if it hasn't. We better have the audio at least. Well, we've definitely got the audio in it. I think it sounds absolutely crispy. You can listen to it when I've been listening to both of our voices into this. We might have to save up and get ourselves some SM7Bs, this £2,500 podcast setup. Yeah. But either way, I enjoyed this one. It was good. I think it was a good title, a good idea, and I think we could probably close it up from there, really. Yeah. This podcast, the start, middle, and end have been properly amateur, haven't they? Like, we can't really call ourselves professional podcasters. Are we professional? We don't get paid, so I guess. But this has been a good one. I really enjoyed it, Neil. I hope to record a few more of these while you're down in London. I think the in-person stuff is way much more fun. Yeah. I still enjoy the Zoomy type of Riverside stuff, but I think having a chat facing each other. I got a bit emotional in the middle of it. It's very nice. But yeah, thanks, Neil. Thank you. Really enjoyed it. If you are interested, we are. Oh, someone's come in the door. Oh no, here we go. If anyone's interested in this, we have our YouTube channel. We have our Greenhorn podcast on Instagram. Any questions? Drop it in there, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much.